up, all my fight fans? UFC 293 is in the books. It happened this Saturday in Australia. Izzy Adesanya versus Sean Strickland. We got ourselves a new middleweight champion of the world. Guys, what can we say about this fight? Oh my God, it took us all by surprise. It took the world by surprise. That not just the MMA world, the whole globe. Anybody that has watched MMA or is into fighting, I promise you, was taken by surprise with the results of this fight. So why don't we get right down to it? So the buildup of this fight was somewhat okay. You know, there wasn't a whole lot going into this fight. You know, there was a lot of confusion on who was going to main event the Australia card. You know, we really didn't find out about Israel Adesanya taking on Sean Strickland up until 5 weeks before the pay-per-view took place. So I've been hearing a lot of rumors that they were trying to get Yuri Prochazka versus Alex Pereira. Then they were thinking about possibly getting John Jones versus Sergey Pavlovich. You know, those fights did not come into fruition. We already know John Jones is going against Stipe in November, and we do not know the timetable of the light heavyweight championship, Yuri Prochazka versus Alex Pereira, when that's going to go down. So they decided to go with Israel Adesanya versus Sean Strickland for Australia, UFC 293. The fight takes place, and here we go. Israel Adesanya, you know, walks into the cage, really doesn't look anything out of the ordinary. He looks very serious, relatively serious. It doesn't seem like he, you know, we've seen him come in with dance moves and different unique entrances and whatnot, but this one seemed a little bit more serious, and it's like, okay, cool. You know, he's still doing his thing. We've seen him with the Alex Pereira fight. We've seen him with a few other fights. It's all about business. Sean Strickland comes in, you know, he's pretty much becoming almost a fan favorite in Australia. And he's actually got the crowd buzzing for him, crowd cheering for him and whatnot. And he's going in there with the mindset of like, hey, I shouldn't even be here. Which rightfully so, he shouldn't have. You know, he went in there with a two fight winning streak against relatively decent contenders. Not top contenders, not the top echelon guys of the middleweight division, but, you know, decent contenders. But at the end of the day, Israel Adesanya had already went through the whole middleweight division, and nobody else is open right now. And he originally was supposed to go against DDP, Dragulus du Plessis, but he ended up getting hurt, so he could not come into the bout. So at the end of the day, they had nothing more but Sean Strickland, who was on a little bit of a winning streak in the middleweight division and did not face Israel Adesanya. So that is why he is here, and that is why Sean Strickland, he's even said, I'm not even supposed to be here, but I'm going to go with it. And he did. So the fight opens up. You know, Sean Strickland's pretty much doing his thing, his little Philly shoulder roll and whatnot, or, you know, Philly shove, whatever they want to call it. But I know it's mostly a boxing technique made famous by Floyd Mayweather, actually made famous by Floyd Mayweather Sr. He was one of those guys, of course, guys like James Toney and whatnot, but moving forward. He continues to move forward. Sean Strickland I'm talking about, and Izzy's on a little bit of a back foot. Does his usual thing. Throws little calf kicks, his thigh kicks, and whatnot. Throws in the jabs, a few power shots. But those calf kicks and the rest of his kicks were getting checked by Sean Strickland. You know, getting checked by his shin. You know, and then you got Sean Strickland opening up with a couple of 1-2s, going straight down the middle, and then crack. Gets Izzy Adesanya in the middle of the cage, or not the middle of the cage, excuse me, against the cage, and pretty much was able to put him down. Was able to do quite a bit of ground and pound, and Israel Adesanya was able to survive. That was in the first round. Surprise, surprise. Surprised the hell out of me. I know it surprised the hell out of you guys. I did not see that coming. But, hey, you know what? Everyone could get relatively lucky. Israel Adesanya decides to, you know, open up just a little bit more in round 2. And, you know what? Everyone could give that give that round to Israel Adesanya. Did not do quite as much. But still, I see he was just a little bit more busier. As 3, 4, and 5 go on, we see Sean Strickland completely put on a boxing clinic. Completely was able to stop Israel Adesanya's leg kicks with his checks. Was able to pretty much stop Izzy's rhythm with his own boxing abilities, with his jab. Pretty much able to block majority of Israel Adesanya's shots. It pretty much was so impressive by Sean Strickland. Very impressive by Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland just looked like a completely different fighter. Pressured Izzy. Izzy pretty much the entire time just going backwards and backwards and backwards, and Sean Strickland cutting off the cage, putting up against the cage, and landing 1-2 shots, landing straight shots, landing his jab shots. He was just completely on point. Sean Strickland was on a different level that night. Different level. And I promise you, if anybody said bet the house on Israel Adesanya, everybody would be betting the house on Israel Adesanya, because we've seen Sean Strickland against relatively high level competitors in the middleweight division. Guys like Jaron Cannonier, which he lost a split decision to. Guys like Alex Pereira, which he got knocked out in the first round to. So yes, it's rightfully to think that Sean Strickland would end up getting dominated on the feet. But no, Sean Strickland dominates Israel Adesanya on the feet. No wrestling, no takedowns, no nothing. Just completely annihilates Israel Adesanya on the feet. Something that Israel Adesanya is the expert at. You put Israel Adesanya at the top 4 middleweights of all time. If there was a Mount Rushmore of middleweights, you would definitely have Israel Adesanya on that list for sure. 100% without question. Without question. So, but at the end of the day, Sean Strickland wins. Sean Strickland was able to tic-tac, pretty much Israel Adesanya's face, body, and able to block off his leg kicks. Israel Adesanya just had no answer for Sean Strickland. No answer. It just looked like he was just nowhere near the fight. Now, what do we know what happened? We do not know. We haven't really heard from Izzy during the press conference. Izzy let his coach do his thing. He wanted to be with his family, so cool. He went with his family. Sean Strickland, pretty much all surprise, all smiles, the new middleweight champion of the world, guys. What a great achievement for Sean Strickland. Great achievement. So, moving on. What is next for Sean Strickland? Well, he has the whole middleweight division to play with. But before we get into that, should there be a rematch? Izzy Adesanya versus Sean Strickland. Me personally, I don't think so. Izzy Adesanya pretty much deserved that rematch against Alex Pereira. He got caught. He was winning that fight. In that first fight at MSG, he was winning. And then pretty much Alex Pereira backs up Izzy, connects with him, stops the fight, gets the fight stoppage, and becomes the new middleweight champion of the world. Izzy Adesanya, pretty much, if he would have played it just a little bit safe, he would still remain the middleweight champion of the world. But because he got backed up, because he got caught by Alex Pereira, they decided to give Izzy Adesanya a middleweight title shot, a rematch. Excuse me. Cool. Rematch takes place. First round, relatively similar. Second round, boom. Israel Adesanya connects with Alex Pereira and regains his middleweight championship belt. Rightfully so, because he definitely deserved it. He earned it 100%. He connected with Alex Pereira, knocked him out. I don't even know if Alex Pereira's ever been knocked out. As far as in the MMA world, no. But in the kickboxing world, don't know. I didn't really follow that man's career all that much. But this fight, Israel Adesanya was not even in. This was not a split decision. This was not a possible draw. This was not a majority decision. This was not even a robbery. This was a clear-cut, 100% Sean Strickland victory. Sean Strickland domination. Sean Strickland becoming the new middleweight champion of the world. Israel Adesanya won one round, maybe. I'm talking the biggest maybe you could possibly do is give Israel Adesanya 2 rounds. Nowhere near would you ever be able to give him 3. And you know what? At the end of the day, that's okay. Because Israel Adesanya has been the middleweight champion since 2019, on and off, obviously. But since 2019, 2018, he has been the middleweight champion of the world. The guy has been so active. The guy has never, ever taken any time off. He's become the most active champion of the world. He's had 11 title fights. 11. It is so hard to stay on the top for that long and not have breaks in between. We remember George St. Pierre. We remember John Jones. We remember Anderson Silva. Talk to those guys and tell them how hard is it to stay on the top that long, to have that kind of pressure, to have that kind of, championship belt holding over your head, where you got to do all these media things and all these interviews, and you got to be this, the pretty much the pack leader. And not even just that, you are the face of MMA. You are the face of UFC. Conor McGregor usually is, but Conor McGregor is gone. Conor McGregor is nowhere near to be found. I mean, well, we know where he is, and we know he likes to talk, but he is not leading the UFC right now. Israel Adesanya is. He is the face of UFC. He is the superstar of the UFC. So he has that riding on him too. It's a lot of pressure for a man. So right now, what I feel like is they should give Israel Adesanya a break. You know what? Do your thing. Heal up. Be with your family. Let us know what you want to do in the future. But right now, let's not give him another title shot. Let's have him relax. Take a year off, honestly. You're still young, man. You done what you needed to do. You done what you needed to do in the middleweight division. Honestly, there is no need for him to be in the middleweight division outside of the fact that we all wanted to see that DDP fight. Because that build we want to see. Now, of course, we want to see him against guys like Sean Strickland, again, the rematch. We would like to see him against DDP. And even a potential fight that we have lined up in October, Khamzat Chimaev. There's another one that we want to see. So, yeah, there's a lot of things that we want to see. So, when I asked, should we see a rematch with Israel Adesanya versus Sean Strickland? No, we should not. We should not. Israel Adesanya, you know what? Did his thing. Take a break. Be with your family. Take a long vacation. Let your mind heal. Let your body heal. Let it all heal. Take some time off and do your thing. When you come back stronger. Come back better. But moving on. What's next for Sean Strickland? Well, I just mentioned there is a fight in October. Paulo Costa versus Khamzat Chimaev in the Abu Dhabi card. I believe that's UFC 294. I see that being the number one contender fight. Now, I know what everyone else is saying. They're saying, what about DDP? What about Directors Duplessis? Well, there's been some outlets have reported that he is still hurt. Could be ready by December, though. Possibly. But it all depends on how this Khamzat Chimaev Paulo Costa fight turns out. If this is just a clear-cut domination and a very exciting fight for Khamzat Chimaev, I could definitely see them doing that fight for sure. But if it ends up being a boring fight, it ends up being very stale, it ends up being, very strategic and where it doesn't really excite the fans, then I could definitely see it giving to DDP. But guys, wait 1 second, because there was a backup fighter on Saturday night and his name was Jared Cannonier, and he holds a victory over Sean Strickland. So that could also be your wild card fight right there. They could honestly give it to him. They'd be like, hey, you know what? These guys will duke it out. These guys will brawl it out. These guys gave us a little bit of an exciting fight last year. Why not let them do it again? So there's so many options for Sean Strickland. So many options. So I am very much looking forward to seeing what they do with it. Because the middleweight division was a little bit stagnant, was a little bit boring because of the fact that Israel Adesanya was so dominant. But because pretty much in less than a year, we've already had 3 middleweight champions of the world, we got some excitement. We got some really fun times in the middleweight division, and we got fun times looking ahead of the middleweight division. So I'm very excited to see what's going to be taking place next. As far as Israel Adesanya goes, what's next for him, I already have mentioned, you know what? Let the guy take a break. Let the guy take some time off. Let the guy heal. Take the rest of the year off, and then come back stronger next year. Maybe a non-title fight against DDP. That would be a very fun fight. Or he could honestly, ease right into a title fight after fighting whoever is the champion at that time. I don't see why not, but not now. Not right now. Not anytime soon. Not this part of the year. Maybe in the second half of the year. International Fight Week 2024, possibly, I'm talking about. Let that guy take that time off. Readjust yourself. Find new game plans, because quite possibly, maybe the reason why people are beating you now, like Alex Pereira and not like Sean Strickland, is because they're starting to figure out your little game plan. They're starting to figure out your little strategy that you come into the fighting, in the strategy that you come into the fight night with. So maybe it's time to come up with a different game plan, time to evolve, time to adjust, and the only way you can do that is taking some time off. So that's what I feel like they should do. Now, another question I want to ask you guys, because this has been thrown out a lot, is this the biggest upset in UFC history? Me personally, I feel so, yes. I feel 100% yes. Now, I know what you guys are going to say. There was a lot of upsets in the MMA world, or excuse me, UFC world. You have Matt Serra versus GSP. You have Michael Bisping versus Luke Rockhold. You have Holly Holm versus Ronda Rousey. You have that kick with Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman. All great upset victories. But me personally, when I see Sean Strickland pretty much was able to defeat somebody who is on the pound for pound list, somebody who is easily the top 4 middleweight champion of the world, and not just beat him by wrestling him, he beat him at his own game. Michael Bisping is a striker, so is Luke Rockhold. And he was able to pretty much land a really good shot over Luke Rockhold and stop him. You got Leon Edwards, who lands a great kick against Kamaru Usman and wins another fight against Kamaru Usman, which I feel like is very impressive, and right there next to being the biggest upset in the world. Holly Holm was able to outstrike Ronda Rousey, which we all know Ronda Rousey wasn't ever the greatest striker in the world. George St. Pierre, I feel like, got caught by Matt Serra on that night. And George St. Pierre was on the verge of being a great fighter, but still relatively early in his career. We got a prime Israel Adesanya that just got his middleweight championship of the world back, that looks pretty much unbeatable outside the fact that he got caught by Alex Pereira, taking on a guy who is literally probably the least likely to be able to beat Israel Adesanya, Sean Strickland. Has really no power, doesn't have the stand-up resume that Israel Adesanya does, and doesn't have the opponent resume like Israel Adesanya does, but somehow was able to come out on top and become the middleweight champion of the world. That's impressive, guys, and that is why it is the UFC's #1 upset of all time. That's my personal opinion, guys. But again, I would like to hear your personal opinion. Let me know in the comments of what do you think about this fight. Let me know in the comments if you think this is the biggest upset of the year. Let me know in the comments what do you think is going to be next for Sean Strickland and Israel Adesanya. Guys, like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.